Hello. This is to show you how high up you're going to need to build the trap. You don't necessarily have to use angled ladders the same way I did, but I did just because it's fun to run up. And for invaders, if you're on a ladder, when they spawn, they'll spawn at the bottom of the ladder, like if you're actually on the ladder, attached to it. But on the angled ladders like that, they will actually spawn on the angled ladder. I'm going to show you all a technique. You have meteor flight equipped, and then if you line up, see how the ladder is like perfectly straight on for my character. I can do this twice. Actually, yeah, that works too. I was too high up, but if usually you'd want to activate it twice, and it will get you pretty high up. Okay, so all these angled ladders, even if they're attached to the ground, sometimes they can stop you from walking up. But if you get stopped, if you get stopped, just walk backwards like I did, and then go back up. Be careful, do not super sprint up ladders, because it will make you jump as if you're hurtling an object, and that will either send you off the ladder or make you start climbing it, which is much slower than sprinting. And as far as I know, the super jump, the meteor jump, does not work to go up angled ladders, because you most likely just miss it to the side. So first, a tip about building mode that is very useful is make sure you have free cam on. So the default is like this. You're just kind of running around, kind of like a Valheim or Rust, but free cam. Way more freedom. You can go really far away. I can go even farther. I'm just hitting this. So, first off, here is a very bare bones version of the trap. So all you really need is the vertical ladder, the tall vertical ladder. It's the default one. And then a floor piece that's placed a precise height above the top of the ladder, where you can stand on top of the ladder, but the game doesn't see that as a viable spawn location for when the invader teleports to you. So the trap, if you built here at this elevation, won't actually work. So the way this trap works, here is a version of the trap that is actually built on the correct elevation. So at a certain height, which is quite high up, you will get stuck in the air if you jump up. Yeah, I'm floating. So we're using this to trap, and the combination of the spawning displacement when you're standing on top of the ladder and this will mean they're stuck. So the reason we can't just jump up like this and then have them teleport to us and be stuck is that first off, they're in the same spot as us, they can attack us. And secondly, if you're stuck like this, just jump until you're in the jumping animation, right? And then mighty drop, and you will just fall down. So if you combine this, the spawn displacement, right? They will spawn above you, and so if you place the minimum height that they can spawn is the full height of one wall piece, but you can stand in a smaller space than that. So what this is doing is displacing them up on top of the floor, and if they get teleported up on top of here and they ground pound, they're still above the height ceiling. They can't actually move anywhere. You want to get to high enough that the top of the ladder will be above the height limit. I mean, it doesn't technically have to, but it is helpful, because otherwise you might just fall down off the ladder. So place the ladder at the center. It does not matter what rotation you have it, as long as it's just perpendicular to one of the walls. So you build up 3 walls. You take a floor. See how it tells you can't place it in the ladder building area? So instead what we do, first you can delete the ladder, place this, and stack them on top of each other by looking directly in the middle. Stack up 3, and then delete them one by one as you place the ladder. Can't place. Can't place. Now, at the same time, there's not enough room to spawn. And often I like doing and closing it just so that if they teleport to you before you get to the top of here, you can just shoot you with an arrow, which is why my actual version of the trap, this ladder, goes way, way, way above the height ceiling. That way they can't shoot me with arrows. And oftentimes, the invader teleports to you before you get to the top. They will often just follow you up the ladder, get to the top, not realizing they'll get stuck there as well. So mine's a little bit fancier. So this is all you really need for the trap. This is the bare bones, but there are some issues with it. So first is the issue that the invader, they teleport on top, right? They can attack you through the floor if they're close enough, like using Guardian Palm or like a jump attack, which is why I've done this. So this will still spawn them above you, but you're using spaces that are too small for them to spawn in, so they spawn high. There's two ways to do it. You can either just use a wall, this one like half top, and do that kind of thing. And this should already be enough, but I did higher just to be safe. Or you can do the half wall, back that up, and then place one on each rung. As bonuses, still in the same vein as trapping hunters, this is actually quite a nice little trick. So first off, this one requires you to be more precise about your height compared to the height ceiling. So see, I had to build up a couple floors here in order to get high enough. But essentially, you want the top of a wall, like a normal big piece wall, to be right at the height limit where you get stuck. Okay, and then the trick is to place two right in top each other. So we use the same trick as the floor from earlier. You aim right in the middle. Now it's too thick. And then you take one of these ladders, which is a slot ladder. You place it against the wall, but with the top rung just barely above the edge, like so. Okay. What this allows you to do is, so with ladders, invaders cannot, actually anyone in co-op cannot interact with ladders by pressing F, only the host can. What they can do is they can jump and see how it automatically latches. They can do that. But as we see, because we're at the height limit, see, you can't just run and jump over. You get stuck. Right? So you can run, grab it, and you'll go over the edge. You'll go over, but without the invader being able to follow you. Of course, they can always just teleport you on the other side, but it can be used to make some funny little run around, oh you can't catch me type moments. And if you time it just right, you can actually just go straight over without having to mantle the first side. If you time it right, you can do that. And so imagine if I had walls here, built up, around, like if this was, you couldn't get through to the next room without doing that. That is a cool way to make invader-proof entrance. Although this requires you to be at this height, which is a little bit limiting. Well, more than a little, quite limiting. The other thing you can do is, so you see this big box, right? No way to get in. Try to jump in here, you can't. Crouch, jump, crouch, doesn't work. So what this is, see if you find it, you can climb ladders through floor pieces. See how things you have to use the half ladder and have a full wall, or not a full wall. You see how this is not a full height above? You want to get this wall low enough, about this far, so that you can reach the ladder while you're still being able to place the floor. It's the same trick that I used for the trap, where you stack up a couple above the ladder, like this. And so now you have a one-way secret entrance. But to make the exit, use the same trick as before, except not a height limit. So remember, we can run and jump and go over. But you have to do the timing part, doesn't work. And you can get through gaps that you normally can't fit through. So this is a way so no one can get in. At the end of the video, I will put a couple clips of me catching people. Be warned though, that if you like trap a bounty hunter, often they'll just like they will try to escape, and if they can't, they'll just leave, which will not remove your bounty. Instead, it will just add a 2-hour cooldown, and then a bounty hunter will always appear next to you whenever you log in for the day, as long as it's not within that same 2-hour cooldown. If you do want to trap players and don't end up going to prison, paying out, like if you still have a bounty, just make sure you log out somewhere close enough. You can't actually log out up on these type of builds. I mean, you probably can if you don't have such a big build around you. But the problem is that the building pieces take a while to load. So if you log in up here, oftentimes you will just log in the air and you will fall. And then they'll load in above you and then you'll just fall all the way down.
na na